keeping the lights on. This month, we take the covers off Power Apps, Microsoft's tool for creating mobile apps within your business. Before we dig into that, just for those of you that are unfamiliar with who Crimson are, we're an IT consultancy. We help businesses better exploit Microsoft's business tools. We work primarily with Dynamics 365, but also Office 365. Increasingly, we're working in the cloud with Microsoft Azure and their cloud technologies. We help clients deploy fast. We're very keen on something we call rapid prototyping. We use iterative and agile techniques to achieve very quick results. Clients ask us about all kinds of things when they're talking to us about their IT projects, but they fall broadly into three areas. Firstly, that they want to know how we can help their IT systems deliver customer and revenue growth. Secondly, they're asking us about how we can help them get the fundamentals right and free them up from the burdens of their legacy technology. And then finally, they're really keen to look at how we can help them transform and innovate and do that in a risk-free way. On today's webinar, we have two guests. My name is Mark Britton. I'm your host today. Feel free, by the way, to add questions in the chat box, and I'll pick the most difficult one to see if we can trip our team up. Today we have Kieran Toon and Kurat Elaine, consultants, but both of them from Crimson. Some of you may have seen a bit of this presentation at Crimson's annual innovation conference back in April, where we demonstrated a mobile phone app around expenses. Well, we've taken that, we've looked to extend that app, and today's webinar will look at that and also look a bit behind the scenes to see how we go about building that, and hopefully get a feel for how powerful Power Apps is. So good morning, folks. Let me just switch your microphone on so you can be heard. I hope you're both well.
Good morning, Mark. Hi, Mark.
Okay.
Kieran here.
Hi, Kieran.
Hello. So good morning, everybody. So first of all, I'd like to address what are Power Apps, and before doing that, let me just introduce myself. So my name is Kieran Toon. I work in the cloud services practice at Crimson, along with my colleague Kurat, and we build applications for our customers using platforms such as SharePoint Online, Dynamics 365, and associated with that things like Power BI, Flow, and of course Power Apps, which is what we're going to be looking into today. So if I just, or Mark, if you just click us through to the next slide, please. Superb. So what are Power Apps? Well, Power Apps is a relatively new Microsoft technology that's baked into Office 365. So you do have to have an Office 365 account to be able to use it, although you can also purchase it separately. So you can build custom business applications very rapidly connected to multiple data sources that work crucially on any device type. So you could be accessing the application through your web browser on your computer, or you could be accessing it through your Apple mobile phone through an app on that, or even through an app on on an Android device, or again just through the web interface. So the nice thing about it is that you don't need to know anything about building iOS applications for Apple phones. There are plenty of other mobile platform technologies out there, like Xamarin, like Ionic, etc. But they all require you to have some understanding of the underlying platform, or to be building your application for multiple devices. Well, with Power Apps, it's built once and it works on any device. So with the addition of Flow, which was covered in last month's presentation by my colleague Mark Cotton, Flow allows us to build business workflow against the Power Apps. So we can channel various routes of data to different colleagues or different applications. So just moving on to the next row here of capability within Office, within Power Apps. As I said, it's integrated in Office 365, so it creates that seamless user experience. So very quickly, as we'll see later when my colleague Kurat is developing or showing us how she's developed this expenses application, it's very straightforward to go and create something like a SharePoint list and then automatically almost build a Power App from that SharePoint list with all the relevant fields that are in that SharePoint list. Moving on, we've got, it's a very simple to use, publish and use on the web. So there is an application that you can download and develop Power Apps on your Windows computer. But if you don't have a Windows computer, you can actually develop your applications in a web browser. As I mentioned before, it's device agnostic, so it doesn't matter whether you have a Windows phone, an Apple phone, or an Android phone, it'll work on all three. And our final capability here is the ability to connect to multiple data systems. So if you've got data sources on-premise even, you can use what's called a gateway to connect to those. And of course, Microsoft have opened up a whole stream of both their and third-party cloud data sources to be able to connect to those. So you can create your own business mashups, aggregating lots of disparate data sources. So moving on, just to give you all an idea of some of the applications that Power Apps could be used to design and create. We've just got a few examples here, some of which we're in the process of building and some of which we've built. So for example, we use a simple app here so that when we're working from home, we just click a button on our phone and it tells everybody in the office that's relevant where we're working that day and adds an item in our calendar to show everybody where we are that day. You could equally create a meeting room booking application. Similarly, the starters, leavers, and movers app it's highly relevant. But also, it might be that you've got for example, a building. Some of our customers manage multiple properties. Some of those properties don't have very good mobile access, internet access. So a new capability that Microsoft have brought out is the ability to work in an offline mode. So if you're working on a building site where there is little capability for mobile access, you can still use your app, and at the next point you get mobile internet access, the Power Apps app will reconnect and synchronize your data. The other thing I wanted to say is that Microsoft, a year ago at the partner conference, had the tagline that their strategy was mobile first, cloud first. Well, they've definitely led with that and have been true to their word, and have brought out this Power Apps capability. And as with a lot of their technology, it's very fast moving and they're developing it very rapidly. It's designed to be easy to use so that you don't have to go on a 6-month course to learn about mobile technology to develop mobile apps. And it's all based around Excel and Excel functions. So we'll see a little bit of that as well when Kurat's showing us her application. Just moving on to the final slide. So Power Apps brings together the ability where there's lots of data, business data proliferation, to bring all that together into a simple app. It works very well with the way that Crimson like to work. As Mark mentioned, we like this idea of rapid prototyping so that customers can see what they're getting quickly. And what we like to do is share our knowledge with the clients so that they can then take ownership of what we've built for them if they wish to, and then make tweaks and further amendments themselves. So it does help deal with this dearth of people who are skilled in developing mobile apps. So with that, I think we're going to be treated to a great demo here by my colleague Kurat, and let's see how this Expenses app works. So Kurat, over to you.
Thank you, Kieran. Thank you, Mark. Okay, so my name is Kurat and I will be doing the demonstration to this Power App today. Before I move on to the demonstration, I would like to briefly explain what my Power Apps does. Okay, so if I could move on to the next slide, Mark, that would be great. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. So to begin with, you start your Power App on a device, for example, your mobile phone, your laptop, or your tablet. And what happens then? This app allows you to claim your expenses. So it allows you to create requests to claim your expenses. Okay, and what happens behind the scene in the Power App, it connected with two data sources. So one is called Office 365 Users Data Source, which allows us to pull the user details, for example, the job title, the full name, or the email address. And the second is called SharePoint List, where we are saving all the data, where we have created all the columns which we will be using in Power Apps and saving in back to SharePoint. I'm using two flows, so one flow allows us to send approval emails to the managers every time a new request is created. And the second flow is allowing us to upload images that we might take of our receipts or the food, for example, we are eating as an evidence to support our claim. So it's nice and simple. It's a basic Power App which we can use to claim our expenses. So there are different data sources which we can connect to. So today I will be using SharePoint List as a main data source, but there are different data sources that you can connect to. For example, if I click on this slide, Mark, please, and it shows the different data sources. Yeah, so for example, Dropbox, SharePoint Access, SQL Server, Office 365, and Dynamics 365. And there are more data sources that you can connect to. Okay, now let's move on to the demonstration.
Okay, Kira, I'm just going to change you to the presenter. So let me just get this working. Okay. So it should be moving over to your screen within a couple of seconds. There we go.
Great.
It's all yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Mark.
Okay.
Okay, this is the SharePoint list where I have created all the columns, as you can see. All the columns, for example, do you have receipt, total cost, and all the columns that I will be using Power Apps to create my requests are created here. And you can see we have some examples of data here which we have created using the Power App, and it's all stored in the SharePoint list here. Okay, and below is a connected web part which shows us all the images related to our claims. So you click on this link button here, it shows us the related image. Okay, for example, I had pizza and it shows me the image of my pizza. And this is nice and simple. It just shows us all the data and the images that we have saved using the Power App. Okay, so now let's show you how you can submit a new expense claim. So this is a link which we have added on our SharePoint list. And if I click on this link, it takes us to the screen where we can create a new request. Okay. This is the browser screen in Power Apps. So basically, this is showing you all the requests that are created by you. In this case, they are the requests created by myself. And this here shows you all the summaries of the requests. So for example, the name of the requester and the detail of the request and email address, created date, and how much money you spent. This is the search button here. You can search for your request. This is a refresh button here which refresh all your requests. This is to sort your list in descending or ascending mode. And if you click on this little view item detail button here, it will take you to full detail of your request. Okay, so this is your detail screen, which allows you to basically either edit your request or you can delete your request as well. For the purpose of this demo, I would like to show you how you can basically create a new request. Okay, so if I just click on this create new item here, it will take me to the new screen. You can see full name, email address, and job title is automatically populated, and this is where my Office 365 data source comes in place. So I'm using Office 365 users to pull out my profile detail, like full name, email address, job title. So it basically allows user to do less typing, and if, for example, you have more than one request to submit, it will be easier for you to just quickly type in the detail of your request, as all this will be automatically populated for you. If, for example, department was also saved in my profile, that would have been pulled as well, because I don't have department saved in my profile in Office 365. That's why it's not populating this. And all of these full name, email address, job title, and department columns are single line of text column in SharePoint. Manager is a person field, which allows us to search all the users in Office 365. So, for example, if I start typing in my manager, which is Kieran Toon, you will see the suggestions below. So I just simply click on Kieran Toon. Department is solutions. And all of these detail I can overtype. If, for example, you think any of these detail is not correct, you can overtype, okay? Expense category is a simple drop-down column in SharePoint with all of these options: meals, accommodation, transport, and staff, business, entertainment. You can edit your options in SharePoint to show whichever options are more relevant to you. Okay, so I will choose meals and accommodation. Expense type, again, is a drop-down column in SharePoint with all the options here. And if I choose food, you will be able to see this new column appears, which is number of people eating. So it shows you the capability in Power Apps to allow you to hide and show field depending on the option you select. So number of people eating, I will say 2. Expense details, so you can say we had biryani, for example. I had biryani. So you just type in the details of your expense. I have little validation on the expense start and expense end date as well. So if I choose my expense start date to be the 4th, and if I choose my end date to be less than the start date, you will see this little notification here to say end date cannot be less than the start date. Okay, so I just go and choose my end date to be either the same or greater than the start date. Okay, then I have total cost here. I can just type in wherever money I spent on biryani. Okay, and this is the project code. If your request or if your claim is related to a project and you know the project code, you can simply just select the project code. And so this project code is a lookup column in SharePoint, which means all the detail of this project code is saved in a separate SharePoint list. And I just choose my project code. Okay, so this is where your camera control will come in place. So it's asking you, do you have a receipt? If I click yes, it will start showing me, showing my face.
With all that, you're making me feel hungry. I've got a photo of the biryani.
Oh yeah.
Let's take that picture.
Let's take a picture of the biryani.
It's delicious. I can witness
Ooh,
that.
yummy. All right, okay. So now we have the picture of our biryani as an evidence to support, and you can see this image link ID here. I just added to basically create a relationship between this image and my request. So like I showed you in SharePoint, it was showing all your requests with your images. And that's it. Once you're happy with all the details, you just click save and your request is submitted. Nice and simple. And you can see on the top is my new item is added, which says we had biryani. Okay. Once you have submitted your request, an email is sent to the manager as for approval. So an email I should be receiving in a minute. Okay. All right, there you go. So this is an email I receive as a manager, or you will be receiving as a manager. It shows you the detail of your claim, for example, the requester, the email, the job title, etc. This is a link to the item itself. So if you wish to view the request in full detail, you can just simply click the link, or once you're happy with all the data, you can just simply approve or reject. Okay, so if I click on this approve button here, okay, so this screen here shows you all the approvals they are waiting for you, and you just click, you just pass your comments to say it looks cool. and confirm. Okay, so once you're approved, your response is sent to the requester to notify that your request has been approved, or once it's rejected, it will be another email sent to the requester to notify them that it's been rejected. All right, so here is the email that I receive as a requester to say my request has been approved. So these are the notifications I am sending using a flow.
So
okay,
I'm really interested to see now how you've built this, Kirat. Let's have a look at that.
Okay, so let's show you this in edit mode, how you would go as an app maker to create or edit these apps, okay? So to begin with, you can click on this app launcher here and use Power Apps. I click on Power Apps, okay? This will take me to this edited screen. So like my colleague Kieran explained previously, you can use either the browser to edit your apps, or you can use something called Power App Studio, which you can download using your Windows App Store. Okay, so to create a new app, you can just click on this Create New App button here. To see all your recent apps, you can see these are displayed here, and these are, for example, if you're the beginner, you can use these sample apps to start with to learn more about Power Apps. If I go into apps here, you can see all of these apps are created by me. Because today I will be demonstrating a staff expense claim, I will just click on this app here, and this will take me straight into the edit mode. It takes a few seconds to load the screens for you. By default, when you create a new Power App, it automatically create 3 screens for you, and I will show you what 3 screens are. Okay, so this is on the left hand side are the screens that you will be represented with when you create a new Power App. So browser screen, for example, it shows you all the controls that are used in the browser screen. This shows you all the controls that are used in the detail screen, and this is all the controls that are used in the edit screen. Okay, so these are the 3 screens that you get by default. On the right-hand side, these are all the data sources that you are connected to. So you can see staff expense claim is my SharePoint list, which I have created in SharePoint, and I am connected with in Power Apps. I'm connected to Office 365 data source, and I am also using a flow to upload image from Power App into SharePoint. To add a new data source, you can just simply click on this add button, and you can see all of these data sources you can connect to. Okay, so let's focus on the browser screen. So this is the browser screen. You can see I have added some functions here to sort my requests and to filter my requests. And you can see this is the formula bar, which is very similar to what you see in your Excel spreadsheets, and it's very similar to your Excel formula bars. I have added a filter here to say only show me the requests that are created by me. So author email address has to be equal to my email address, and I am sorting these requests in descending order on created date. Okay, for example, if you wish to add or modify some details, for example, you don't want to show created date, but instead you want to show the modified date, you can just simply click on the right hand side. You can select whichever column you wish to show. So for example, the modified date column, and it will change it for you. If you wish to add new label, you can just simply click on insert label and then choose whichever column you wish to show on that label. Okay, now let's move on to the detail screen. Detail screen again just shows you the full detail of your request, and this button here is an edit button. So if you wish to edit these details, you can just simply click on this button, and that will navigate you to the edit screen, which you can see here in the formula. So when I click on this edit button, it says edit form, and it's navigating you to the edit screen. And you can add some screen transition as well, but I'm not using any transition at the moment. Okay, so let's move on to the edit screen, where you will be applying or adding most of your formulas, and you will be adding your new columns. Okay, so this is your edit screen, where you will be adding all the formulas, for example. So let's quickly show you how you can add a new column on this screen. You can see these are all the columns coming from my SharePoint expense claim list, and these are all the columns that I have if for example I want to show you, I want to show created by, so I can just simply click on this checkbox to say show, and it's showing me my column here. So if I want to move this column into a different position, I can just simply hold the field and drag and drop to wherever I want to show. Okay. And if I want to hide this column again, I can just simply untick this and that will hide it for me.
And Kira, when you started to build this app, you started, as you say, with the SharePoint list, created those columns,
yeah.
And then when you came in to build the Power Apps, as you said, it built the browse, the detail, and the edit screen almost by default,
yeah.
Connecting up with the data source, i.e. the SharePoint list. So all that was left for you to do was to move around the columns, hide and show those that you wanted to see, and then add some logic as well. So I think you built some logic into the date.
Yes,
is that right?
I did.
We
Yeah.
saw that earlier. So how does that?
So for example, if I choose my end date to be less than the start date, I've got a little label here to say, if expense end date is less than the start date, show me this notification to say end date cannot be less than the start date. So by default, this is hidden, and it will only appear when your expense end date is less than the start date. So you can see on text, so these are all the properties related to your columns. So on text, I'm saying type this text when end date is less than the start date. And if I go to the visibility of this column, so if I click on visible, you can see by default it is false. It's not, it's basically hidden. And I'm only showing, it's only true, it's only visible when expense end date is less than the start date. So these are simple logics that you can add to your columns to hide and show fields, for notifications and for validations. Yeah, so it's simple logic that I have added here. Again, here as well, so number of people eating, I have got visibility. If I go to the visibility here, sorry, visibility of this column here, you can see it's only true if expense type is equal to food. Okay, if I click on the save button here,
that's some quite clever logic you've added there, so that's a bit of technical wizardry that you've worked with there. I know we're coming close to the end, so should we move on to the workflow that runs against
that's exactly what I'm going to show you now, okay? So what happens when you click on this save button, basically this starts this upload file to SharePoint workflow, and I've got a logic here to say only run if do you have receipt is equal to yes, otherwise do not run this flow and just submit the request normally. So once you click save and you have do you have receipt equal to yes, it will basically run the flow for you, which is uploading your image into SharePoint. And to add a flow, if you click on action here and you click on flows, you can see these are the flows added into your Power App. And if you don't have one already, you can create a new flow. Let me just basically, I could not add flows 2 weeks ago into browsers, but now I can. So you need to bear in mind that this Power App is in continuous development, and you might see new changes coming in the future. For me to add, I'll show you, what this flow does. So let's just quickly click on these 3 dots and click on Edit button here. And it will load you the flow for you. Okay, so it means this is running using Power Apps. So you can see I click on this button in Power Apps, and it starts the flow for me. And this is so I am adding a really clever trick here to basically convert the binary into an image, which you can see in SharePoint. And this is the details of your file where it's going to be saved. This is the folder path, this is the file name, and this is the image itself. In the image you will be uploading into SharePoint.
You've also got the workflow that sends the email to the manager as well.
That's correct, yeah. So let's quickly show you this flow here. So this flow runs on create. So every time a new request is created, this flow runs. It updates few columns in SharePoint, which I am updating, and then it starts the approval. So it sends an email to the manager for approval. Once it's been rejected or is been approved, an email is sent to the requester to notify them. Okay, so it's very simple and basic flow. That ends my demo.
That's
And I pass it
fantastic.
back to Mark. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thanks very much, guys. That's fascinating stuff. And once again, we learn a little bit more about Flow. So you can see how these Microsoft tools are all coming together. We've got a few minutes for questions. While we're waiting for you to type those into the question box, just to let people know that we are looking at our developing a number of our apps, some accelerators. So if you've got any thoughts about the kinds of mobile apps that you'd like in your business, let us know. We're going to be running a survey over the next few days asking people about what they'd like to see, and the most popular ideas we'll look to try and create something that, as I say, would be an accelerator that you could then adopt in your business. So guys, can you share these apps with external users or in another tenant? Well, what are the restrictions?
Well, you do need to have an Office 365 account to be able to use them. So unfortunately, you can't use them. You can't share them with people outside your organisation. So that is one restriction at the moment. But as we've been saying sort of throughout, this is a fairly rapidly evolving technology. So who knows what Microsoft will do in the future.
Right, and so, some of what you were sharing earlier reminded me a little bit of InfoPath. Is Power Apps an alternative to InfoPath?
Yeah, so lots of our customers use InfoPath. We built many InfoPath apps in the past, and it is Microsoft do continue to support it. I think until about 2027, but are not improving it. But it does seem like Power Apps is the successor to InfoPath, especially now that Microsoft have brought out the capability to work in an offline mode, and then reconnect with the data source once you've got an internet connection.
Okay. David asks about licensing costs for this. This is part of Office 365, isn't it?
Yes, so good question, David. It is included in Office 365 and Dynamics 365 plans. But for business users, it's going to be $7 per user per month. So for example, if you're just interested to claim your request, but you're not interested to make applications, it will just be $7 per user per month. And for app makers and admins, it's going to be $40 per user per month.
But that's if you don't have an Office 365 account.
That's correct.
You can purchase this separately.
Yeah.
Right. And there is a trial period, is there, as well with this that's free?
Yes, so you can set up a trial for your, to get started with Power Apps, and it's 90 days trial that you can, which is a good time for you to get used to Power Apps.
Brilliant. Okay, well, I think that's fantastic. Thank you for your time, guys. So, as I mentioned earlier, run, grow, and innovate are the three common themes that customers ask us about. We have a whole process for managing those kinds of projects, and clearly Power Apps falls into that category. Adoption is always a challenge, and the approach that we like to take is very much around rapid prototyping and getting users involved very early in shaping and then delivering those projects, and that proves very useful when we're trying to drive adoption with these kind of these new types of technologies. Just sort of wrapping up, I suppose. We run these shows once a month. It's the first Tuesday of every month. Next month's show will be an update from our team who are about to travel over to Washington, D.C. For Microsoft's annual partner conference. It used to be called Worldwide Partner Conference, now called Inspire. So we'll be interviewing Head of Cloud Services, Tom Cadman, who's going to be over there. And he'll be sharing what he's learned, what the latest and greatest, the new stuff that's coming out and is on the horizon. So we look forward to that. Don't forget that the shows are also available on Crimson's YouTube channel, so you can always, if you're not able to make it live, you can catch up there. So look out for this show on YouTube in the next 24 hours. So that's all from all of us. We hope you find it useful. Do let us know if you are interested in apps. Just send us an email. We'll pick that up. But until next month, we'll see you then. Thank you very much.